How's it going, everyone? James Lynch here for OddsChecker US, doing my breakdown of Saturday night's UFC heavyweight title fight in the main event of UFC 252 between champion Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. This is a really close fight, and if you guys are looking at the odds right now, you can see why. Cormier is a slight favorite, but this line has been bouncing back and forth all week, so really interesting and close fight in the main event. Let's start first with Stipe Miocic, 19-3 record. He's going to be turning 38 on August 19th, so a little bit younger than Daniel Cormier. Of course, we know going into this fight, Daniel Cormier says he's going to retire, win or lose. Stipe Miocic, speaking to him myself a couple weeks ago, says that he will not retire, win or lose. So take that for what it's worth as far as their mentality heading into this fight. Stipe Miocic, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, so he's 3 years younger. He's got a 5-inch height and 7.5-inch reach advantage, although Cormier, for most of his fights, is usually a little bit undersized for heavyweight. Doesn't seem to matter because he's still getting some quality wins there. Of course, Miocic has a 13-3 UFC record. He's got 9 finishes and got some great wins in that division. Of course, he has the heavyweight title record for title defenses. He's got wins over Arlovsky, Verdum, Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, Ngannou, which is a great win. And obviously Cormier in his last fight, who he knocked out late in that fight. And coming into this fight, both guys have a big layoff. It's going to be 364 days since they last fought. Their first fight was 406-day layoff, so both guys not getting to fight as much as they'd like. Now, speaking with Stipe Miocic, like I said a few weeks ago, he mentioned the fact that this isn't an ideal time for him to return. He would have liked to have fought a little bit later. So take that for what it's worth as far as his training camp heading into this fight. And I also know that when COVID-19 started, Miocic did not get to train much at all. He was in the thick of it. Of course, he's a firefighter by day, so doing that job, wasn't getting to do a lot of training, whereas Cormier, his only job is fighting, so he had been in there and been training a lot. So I think if we're looking at the training camps, I'd say Cormier's had a better training camp heading into the fight, so keep that in mind as well. As far as Cormier, 22-2 record, 41 years old, 5'11" with a 72.5-inch reach. He's a BJJ brown belt, but I don't think this fight will go to the ground. I think it's going to end up staying standing. Cormier, Olympic freestyle wrestling. We know his wrestling credentials. He's obviously got the edge in this fight, and he trains at a great camp in American Kickboxing Academy with the names like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Cain Velasquez and Luke Rockhold. So Cormier obviously getting some really good looks over there at AKA. He's got 11-2 and with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's also got 7 finishes, and he's got some notable wins in the UFC. He's got 2 wins over Anthony Johnson at light heavyweight, has a win over Gustafsson at light heavyweight, has the win over Miocic, and has a win over Derek Lewis as well. He's actually the only guy to ever submit Derek Lewis in the UFC, so that's a pretty good win for Cormier when he was champion to defend his title for the first time. His only notable losses in the UFC are just two guys, Miocic, and he lost to John Jones as well. So Cormier, one of the greatest fighters of all time, and that's what's so cool about this fight on Saturday, guys, is that I think this is a legacy fight for both guys. I think whoever wins on Saturday has to be considered the best heavyweight of all time. So the question is, who am I picking in this fight? I give a slight edge to Daniel Cormier for a couple reasons. On paper, I think he's the better fighter. He's got better wrestling. I think he's got better power. I've been debated on this for a while. People saying who has more power. I know Miocic has, I think, more knockout wins than Cormier in the UFC, but I just think Cormier packs a little bit more of a punch. If you look at the way he's built, he's a shorter guy, but he definitely packs a punch, and he's already knocked out Miocic as well. So that's one thing to consider as well. I'd give him the slight power advantage in this fight as well, too. The other thing, like I mentioned, is that Cormier's had a better camp for this fight, in my opinion, so that's another advantage to him. But Miocic, can't count him out. Really good technical striking. Was the champ for a while. Has more, notable wins at heavyweight as well. So this is a close fight. But like I said, I'm going to give the slight edge to Daniel Cormier. Now, how do I see it ending? That's kind of interesting. I think Cormier could potentially get a later finish. I don't think it's going to be like the first fight where Cormier knocked him out in the first round. I see it being a later finish or potentially a decision for Daniel Cormier. Keep that in mind as well. If you looked at that second fight that they had at UFC 241 last August, Cormier was winning the fight heading into that 4th round, and it was Miocic making the adjustments and getting the finish in that one. So Cormier's got to have that confidence as well, knowing that he's basically been up 4 rounds to 1 on Miocic in these 2 fights. So that's another thing to look at in this matchup. And like I said, very close fight. If Miocic goes out there and wins, it would not surprise me because I think it's that close of a fight. But if we're looking at this fight on paper, I think Cormier has a few more advantages, and that's why I'm going with him with the pick here. I think you could take him straight up if you feel very good about Cormier winning the fight. But personally, I would stay away from this one. I think it's a very, very, very close fight for both guys. So we'll see what happens on Saturday night in the main event of UFC 252, which goes down at the Apex in Las Vegas. One more thing I got to mention before we get out of here. This This is going to be in a smaller cage. The Apex, one of the smaller cages as far as that goes. One of the things that we've looked at in the past with the smaller cage is that usually that leads to more knockouts. It's better for guys who have more knockout power. So I do think that favors Cormier a little bit too. So another reason why I'm picking him in this fight. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who are you picking in Saturday's main event and why? I would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports, and make sure you subscribe to the OddsChecker US YouTube channel here. I'm going to be doing betting previews every week, and I also got some interviews up here as well. So definitely don't want to miss that. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the fights this weekend.